You might be surprised to learn this, but Golisopod and Graplock enjoy beating each other off, and the winner gets to eat out the loser. Also, the deck with a 25% meta share on every tier list for the past 6 months won the massive Japan Championships tournament this past weekend. Yes, Dragapult will still be the #1 deck in our Pitch Black format, which runs from July 16th until September 16th when 30th Celebration comes out. Best of all, it was a duo of different Dragapult decks that did dirty deeds. On the Junior League side, it was a DUSKNOIR variant who took home the gold. And hopefully this isn't a sign of Dragapult players getting smart, because they included a copy of Shaman, making the Arboliva and Slowking matchups less sucky. On the senior side, who unfortunately aren't actual seniors who have open butterscotch candy in their pockets next to used tissues, it was the Blaziken build there with no spice other than a Chi-Yu. To be fair, in the Master League, which is the only one we actually care about, Dragapult didn't win, though it did occupy 6 of the 12 reported spots in the top 16. And of those 6, it was either DUSKNOIR or Blaziken getting paired with the Dragon. The winner of Master League was everyone's favorite Ogerpon Clefairy deck, which I refuse to call Slotbox. Aside from the Ends plan that moves up 2 energy from your bench to your active, it was pretty standard. Unless you count the fact that there's no Crispin, and it instead relies on Energy Switch and 4 Prism to do the thing. Also, for those paying attention, you may have noticed that none of the decks I've shown up to this point featured any new Pitch Black cards. The good news is that the second place Masters deck was a brand new Pitch Black archetype. The bad news is that the Pokemon Company International decided to hate us and changed the name from Ghost Veil in Japanese to Hide and Sneak in English. The only thing that kinda makes up for it is Slowpoke's first attack being called All You Can Yeet in English. Despite that loss of aura, Hide and Sneak achieved both that second place and a top 8 finish. Kind of what I expected happened. Delmise is by far the best card in the deck, dealing 170 damage for 1 Psychic if you have 4 Hide and Sneakers in the discard pile. So why mess around with the slow Sinistcha when you can just one-shot Dragapult all day? A turbo build, there's 3 Prism Tower and 3 Gwyn, meaning you go second and basically swing for 170 damage 7 turns in a row thanks to Legacy Energy. They also included 2 Lillie Clefairy, meaning Dragapult gets one-shot all day. The top 8 list was the same but slightly different. Moltres offers up a way to one-shot Teal Mask Ogerpon for 1 energy. Considering that an Ogerpon deck won the whole thing, you can see why it might be a good idea in this day and age. Ultimately, the Japan Championships gave us our first and perhaps only snapshot of our next format. I explained in my previous Pitch Black preview video why. Essentially, the City League tournaments aren't being held again until September, leaving only the much smaller, less competitive gym battles. Think of it like paying attention to the results of a Limitless tournament with 10 PDC GL codes as the reward rather than one with 200 codes. This resulted in Mega Excadrill getting a ton of attention early, which appears to have been a lie. I analyzed all of the reported top 32 lists from the championships, and it was kind of a bloodbath for new Pitch Black cards. Despite featuring a ton of great additions to the meta like Fossil Quarry and Backtrack Badge and Voltaic Lightning Energy and 2 Cannon, can you guess what the only card to appear in any of those decks outside of Hide and Sneak was? I know I was teeing you up for something wacky, but it's not too surprising. Gladion's Decisive Battle is insane in Festival Lead, allowing you to deal an extra 80 damage if it's the last card in your feet. With Brave Bangle, Do the Wave can deal 210 damage twice in a turn, which is achievable provided you know what you're doing. The only other interesting thing about their list is they use the Dragon Applin that finds a friend for a single energy. Another thing you might notice with tournament decks, especially Japanese ones, versus decks you'd see on TCG Live, is that they YOLO it. I mean, this Testicle Festival deck has 1 recovery card in Night Stretcher and only 4 draw supporters in Lilies. Rabska and Shaman are designed to protect your bench, but without Psyduck, DUSKNOIR can ruin your entire existence. Or how about the top 4 Mega Venusaur deck? There's not a single new card here, and they relied heavily on Meowth EX instead of believing in a turn 1 Lilies. And then we have a top 8 Slowking deck, which, again, didn't have any Pitch Black cards. The list is kinda wild though, running just 2 Night Stretcher and no bosses. But I guess their strategy was to queue them as often as possible, hoping the opponent didn't run Shaman. Or if they did, just target any EXs that aren't Teras, and apparently it worked. The reason I waited almost a week to post this video is because I wanted to know all the top 32 lists. Unfortunately, we've only learned half. Still, if this major tournament is any indication, Dragapult and Ogerpon Clefairy are going to continue their dominance until at least mid-September, with Hide and Sneak a potential counter to both. Once you include the results from all 3 divisions, Dragapult of course extends its lead, with Hydrapple jumping into the fray and even 2 Cannon making an appearance. Since we realistically only received a snapshot of all top 32 decks from the championships, it's possible Mega Excadrill was included in those missing lists. All I can tell you for sure is that it didn't win anything, nor did it top 4 in Master League. Still, look at a couple of the matchups. Excadrill one-shots Dragapult and plays some healing, putting you out of 2-shot range. If you happen to put 5 metal on Iris's ace, despite her being a Dragon Master, a Teal Masked Ogerpon needs 7 grass to one-shot since she resists them by 30. Plus, because the 2 extra energy for maximum drilling can be anything, missed energy to block Alakazam is possible. And while Festival Lead isn't easy, you do resist grass and can potentially mill them with their best cards. That's probably why it's continuing to do exceedingly well in gym battles, with this last week's Pokécall book tier list placing it in 3rd. Essentially, Excadrill's winning quite a bit when it attends a vegan barbecue and there's no stakes. But when there's money and prestige on the line, it folds harder than a table you place the condiments on. One major reason for its drop can be found in this image. Pokécall Book's latest tier list split the 2 popular Dragapult variants, with DUSKNOIR in 1st and Blaziken in 3rd. Well, Blaziken just so happens to one-shot Excadrill. Not even Full Metal Lab plus Iron Defender can save you. Nor will Hero's Cape, because they always have freaking Jamming Tower when they need it. Anyway, examining the latest suite of Mega Excadrill lists, it looks like they've narrowed down the best 56 or 57 cards. You just have to decide if Mega Skarmory is worth it or not, and if Precious Trolley truly is the best A-Spec. Because yes, believe it or not, Secret Box is starting to see more play, going against everything Metal Deck users hold sacred. The reason you can get away with it here is because of Drillbur. It has a call for family attack, meaning there's less pressure on needing a turn 1 Petrol for Trolley. Otherwise, just run it like a typical Metal Deck. Transceiver for Petrol turn 1, play Trolley, use Genesect to find your Metal Evolutions, and you're off to the races. With Metagross as a backup attacker who can deal 300 damage, it's clear why Excadrill is seeing success. It's just that stupid Blaziken stopping it from being a true threat. I'll have much more in-depth previews of all the impactful new Pitch Black decks as we get closer to launch on July 16th. For now, I can say there's been a massive uptick in the amount of Bastiodon decks. I've tried my best to prepare you for trouble, because this damn thing's going to ruin a lot of decks like Beedrill and Starmie and Alakazam and Trevenant, who only attack for a single energy. If Bastiodon's on the bench, your opponent's Pokemon with 2 or fewer energy attached don't deal damage. Because of that, it's been paired with everyone you can think of. There's Energy Control with Gengar EX and Energy Discard with the Tinkatuff, who's like a mini Crushing Hammer. And since Fossil Quarry can find any fossils in deck, the pairing with Mega Kangaskhan is getting quite a bit of attention. Aurorus reduces incoming damage by 50, while Bastiodon forces them to have at least 3 energy attached, so all you do is outspeed them and win. Something else I've started to see a bit more of is Cinderace usage. Fossils aren't basics, so you can't start them. Typically, that's a bad thing. But with Cinderace, it increases your chances of starting the Soccer Rabbit. You can either run a single copy of the new Relicanth plus Hand Trimmer to punish greedy mulligans, or go for a really annoying Mega Absol control deck with a bunch of hammers. I'll briefly mention that Toucannon's also doing extremely well despite being outside the top 10, while Mega Chandelure is doing okay. Lurantis EX meanwhile is DOA beach volleyball, with Mega Zeraora barely fisting anybody. I'll put lists in the description for every deck shown off in this Pitch Black preview overview, except Hide and Sneak and Bastiodon, since we don't know the full set list yet. What you can take away from this video is that despite Pitch Black adding several good new cards, nothing will stop Dragapult except rotation in March 2027. Hide and Sneak has a good chance, what with the whole one-shotting Dragapult for 1 energy if Clefairy's down, and the Sneakers being immune to Phantom Dive, Pings, Munkidori, and DUSKNOIR. But this is still Dragapult's world, and we're just living in it.